Hi, this is Roy Worley. Welcome to the interview show that brings on guests from all walks of life. Yeah, it's here that they tell their stories and delve a little deeper into their lives to see what got them where they are. So grab a drink, have a seat, and relax, because this is the Leo Effect.
When was the last time a short movie shook your emotions to the core? When was the last time a short movie caused you to rethink everything you stood for? When was the last time a short movie made you proud to be an American? When was the last time you felt the emotion to stand up and cheer after a short movie? The new short movie, I've Got Your Six, written and directed by Bill Foster, one of the industry's newest and fastest climbing directors, will answer all of those questions. Rarely has there been so much packed into a short movie that when you leave, you'll feel more proud of our American military veterans. A movie that was cast only with American military veterans will have you on the edge of your seat, cheering for our veterans and what makes America great. I've Got Your Six will be hitting the film festival scene soon. Be prepared to drop what you're doing and go see this powerful movie when it comes to your area. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Leo Effect. Today I'm joined by a very special guest. I'm super excited to talk to this gentleman. He's done a lot of good stuff, and he was actually a pretty predominant figure in one of the animes that I'm watching right now. I'm like really invested in for some reason. I'm not entirely sure. So I would like to introduce to you Mr. Derick Snow. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm fantastic. How are you doing?
I am just phenomenal right now. I'm on cloud nine. So I kind of alluded to it when I first led into this, but maybe in your own words, can you let the listeners know maybe what you feel you might be most known for, or some of the more notable things that you've done?
Well, lately the big one is Shinra Kusakabe on Fire Force. That's been a whole lot of fun. Once that started hitting on Toonami, things kind of exploded. But before that, and after that, I've been doing some fun stuff with My Hero Academia, with the Shie Daikai, with the bad boys. I was mimicked the precious little thing until he became a giant building.
Right.
And then before that, some of the other stuff like Dragon Ball Super, Rogue, from the Ninth Universe. That was probably, a nice little happy thing that happened just before Fire Force kicked in. So it's been going great this last year.
Right. And where in all of that did the part of Rill come in?
Oh, Rill Boismortier from Black Clover. Now, so the ADR director on that, I've worked with him on a couple of things, Chris George. He's such a cool dude. He kind of thought of me for that role, and I have sometimes when I get very excited, my voice gets pretty high, and he's just like, dude, you just got to do this. And that's Chris, and so I brought up my voice to this high little happy place, and I myself am actually a painter, so when I see that art and the picture magic that Rill gets to throw around, it was very it's like the good kind of therapy in a booth.
Yeah.
Particularly when he gets the introduction, not too long ago. And I have a whole lot of fun with Rill. Rill's one of my good boys.
I really enjoyed that character. I actually just watched the episode last night where they discovered some stuff and he got to use his paint magic for the first time that I saw. I was like, oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Yeah, he's got incredible power. I love, along that storyline, they introduce him, to his backstory where, he creates and he gets frustrated and destroys like the mansion and his butler, and they have this really sweet moment. So he's a super emo kid when his art doesn't go right. But they don't. Yeah, he's super powered. He's great. And then later on, some fun stuff happens. I don't know how far into Black Clover you are, but
I'm only about halfway. So
yeah, he's a really fun character. There are a lot of episodes, and it's a fun ride that just keeps going and going.
Yeah,
and I'm happy to hop on with
them. Yeah, and which for the listeners that may or may not know, Rill is a captain. He's a squad captain, which means they're typically more power, like a higher power than the rest of the squad. So you can imagine the level of magic that would come out of this small child almost, and it's overwhelming. It's kind of crazy.
It's incredible. There's some incredible battles that Rill gets to do, around that series, that part of the episodes, and he's how powerful can he be? He can be really powerful with that picture magic.
Yeah,
and later on, some other possibilities happen, and he's great. I love his storyline. I'm a big fan of Rill, and Rill's been very good to me too. He's a good boy.
that's so awesome. So, what made you decide to pursue a career in voice acting in the first place?
Well, so my little path, my hip hopping, jumping into the voiceover world is I started in commercial work, and then I moved into musical theater. So I kind of traveled around when I was living in Los Angeles, and I was doing a beautiful musical theater. But I was still my very first voiceover thing was way back in 1999 when I did a sound-alike for a mod for Half-Life. And then it got released with Counter-Strike back in the 1.6 days. And then I totally got out of voice work for a while. So, I really loved it. I love the whole spectrum that acting allows. And when my future wife and I decided to move into the area of Texas, I had a lot of friends that worked in anime. And I really put that on my radar. So I started putting my feelers out as soon as I got here. I love the idea of doing anime and cartooning and creating characters behind the microphone. I worked in radio, and I did commercials, and it's pretty thankless. It pays well, but it doesn't bring that sweet fame that anime does.
That's fair.
And it was kind of a slow start, but I believed in myself, and I kept training, and I kept doing other types of acting. I mean, acting behind a microphone is still acting. So I did a lot of training in different avenues that kind of magically led me into the anime world. I was very lucky. My very first audition that I had with Funimation, when I managed to book an audition through them, I managed to actually book it right off the bat. And I was pretty cocky about that. But it was for a DVD only release, and it didn't get released for a year after that. And that was an anime called Noreen. Okay. Not a big thing. It was cool. It was great. But as soon as I recorded it, nothing happened for a year. Right. I didn't know anybody still. I booked that one thing, and so I started doing, what do they call it, Walla sessions. And just, I kind of consider that it's a lot of fun because you get to work with all kinds of directors you don't get to work with. Some of the actors that sometimes are, the bigger names that they're just kind of off, and we all smash into a booth and we do funny voices. And then occasionally you get a one-off line and you get to know those directors, and then you can audition for them. And one thing led to another, and I worked, just kept kind of booking the smaller stuff. I started working with, like I said, Chris, that was on Black Clover. I'd worked with him on, some other great shows that my brain can't think of right now.
That's all right.
But just being able to create that, it has been a lot of fun. But it's been a very, the last year and a half has been explosive for the 4.5 years that I've been doing it.
Wow. Oh, geez. And did you have any inspiration? Was there something that you saw that was I want to get into radio, or I want to get into voice acting in general?
Well, my dad was actually a drama teacher, I want to say at Southwest Missouri State University. And while by the time I became, a teenager, he had already gotten out of that. But there was this, just kind of general light push into that direction. It wasn't until high school that I started getting into plays. I had just a random audition that led to a national commercial back when I was a little, I was a short kid in high school. My freshman year, I think I was 4'11". I've grown. I'm 5'5" now. Much taller. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huge. I live on apple boxes. I'm like the Tom Cruise of the anime world.
Oh,
It's
there
cool.
you go. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I kind of got out of it, and then I don't know, just one thing led to another, and I got back into theater where I was living. I did that for like 2 years, or maybe a year and a half. I was working in television though at the time, and they were always looking for people to do voiceover stuff. And at some point, I just kind of auditioned myself for the for some of the producers, and it came so naturally to me, just for that kind of stuff. And I blame my dad. He always had this really nice low cadence that I generally don't have, but
that's fair.
But yeah, he kind of inspired. Like in a way, he kind of inspired me, and I didn't even realize it until years later. But it all kind of makes sense now. Yeah.
So I would say you had quite a bit of support there then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when I first started getting into acting in earnest, I was like 21 in the year 2000. And mostly commercial, a little bit of film during that time. And I started taking a lot of classes, auditioning material, how to, work on context and understanding that kind of thing. And a lot of improv classes that were keeping me on my toes and coming up with different characters at that time. And then getting into musical theater, like really big, awesome tours with some really great shows, just kind of helped me like think, wow, I've got to work really hard to be like these amazing, like the headliners on the show. And that was a good inspiration to get out of my little pond, my big fish. It was good. And then when I got into this market, I don't know, I had gotten so used to trying so hard and improv, my improvisational skills and voicing skills for different characters on stage really translated pretty well to anime voiceover, thankfully.
Right. And that kind of leads me to my next question for you would be like, how do you come up with your voices?
Oh, you should hear me in the mornings. My wife is always, she's like, ugh, Derick. There's those kind of people like Robin Williams and Mrs. Doubtfire, where you're just kind of walking around just creating characters for everything.
Right.
I can't help myself. And just constantly I'm doing that. And nowadays, it's as an actor, a voice actor particularly, I have a couple of agents now. And like I have these different kinds of reels, and I'm always working on trying to, improve or create new character for the reel. And so, if my wife gets mad at me, I can just say, no, but it's for work. It's good. I can be crazy right now.
There you go. I like it.
I mean, thanks to my improv, I don't know. It's just like this stream of conscious where I just can't help myself. I can't stop. If I hear somebody's accent or if I hear an interesting voice, I mimic it, for better or worse. And then I steal it and then slightly, retool it so I can make it my own. I mean, but it's easy to be inspired by, some of, Mel Blanc and, those classic cartoon voiceover people of the 50s and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
I love that kind of stuff. I've always wanted to, when I was a little kid, I was creating just little recordings of myself being, a dozen different characters. Somehow I managed to get paid for it now.
There you go. The American dream. and yeah, that was going to be another question that I had for you was, when you're like, is there a particular style that comes more naturally to you, or is there one that you prefer to do over the others?
Well, particularly with the directors of Funimation, because each director kind of does their own thing and they cast individually in general. Yeah, sometimes it's a little different, but I find that some directors, when I have riffed in particularly like my more crazy voiceover territory, like Mimic from My Hero, at some point when I was doing some other character, it dips into that much lower, gravelier territory, and I tend to get cast all the time on that side. But then on the other side, there's no middle spectrum for me. I tend to get booked way up high on my much higher range. Then suddenly everything's real. Or right now I'm doing Smile Down the Runway with Clifford, that's a great show that's going on right. It's like kind of an underground show that's not on Funimation, or rather not on Toonami, but it's a great thing that I'm working on right now.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, there's always little projects that happen. They may not be like, woo, the big bright lights of fame, but each role, like particularly when this is a lead role on that one. We're in between Fire Force right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a great chance for me to, just keep doing character development and play around with tone and range. Because just, when I wake up, I tend to be in bear mode. My voice is much lower.
Oh,
But then
okay.
the more I stretch it, I can get real high up there, which is great because there's a lot of like middle schoolers and high schoolers in Funimation.
Right.
Anime and stuff, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Which is very good to me. I'm glad I can hit those highs.
Yeah, you're very
Doing musical
fortunate.
theater. Yeah, doing musical theater, having to stretch my musical range, is higher and higher and higher. Because when I started I did a show, Peter Pan, with the gymnast Kathy Rigby from she's big deal back in the 70s and 80s, and she basically did this never ending tour of Peter Pan, which was awesome, and I kind of hopped on for a couple of years doing that. And that was like baritone, my lowest, slimiest, schmee, pirate kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was just down here the entire time, just for years. And then as I got into other musicals, there's this great one called Urinetown, which is more tenor, and then I started to, stretch my voice higher and higher and higher. And then, so now I have just kind of two different worlds where I can enter into, it's awesome. I'm very, very grateful to have that wacky flexibility. I don't know, one of my favorite dudes, Brian Massey, he does a lot of voiceover stuff. He's just in everything. You'll hear him. He's got a very memorable gravel. I worked on him on a film before I started doing Funimation. He was one of the guys that kind of inspired me to kind of pick up the market because he's just such a cool dude.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he's got this gravel. He can go a little high and a little low, but he's known for his voice.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not exactly. I don't know if I'm exactly known for my voice yet, because I tend to love doing crazy ranges.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's hard to actually pinpoint your voice. But you can hear your own voice, right?
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah,
so,
it's funny when I'm doing my voices and suddenly I'm playing it just for for fun with, for example, my wife. She says, "Yeah, it just sounds like you, whatever you're doing."
So is it strange to you both to see a character on TV that you voice?
It's it's surreal to hear, especially if I don't know, there's sometimes when I'm just kind of flipping through or playing some anime that I totally forgot that, I've worked on, because at this point I've done, hundreds of shows, which has been awesome. But yeah, I was like, oh wait, that's me. How silly. Or things like My Hero Academia have been pretty good to me, because I'm the young hip people. A lot of kids tend to watch that these days, so that's kind of like my, hey guys, have you ever heard of My Hero? And they're like, yeah, well, I'm this guy, and then they kind of, their minds get blown for a second.
You're right. That kind of brings me to another point is, talking about fans and having their minds blown. You've been doing conventions?
I'm working, yeah. So I've done a couple of just kind of show up last minute kind of thing, but I have started working with some convention booking agents, which have been very helpful for me to get out of my, I've done local stuff, and when I happen to be on the road, if I happen to hit up a convention, they're called conventions etc, and so they started working with me at the beginning of the year, basically starting to book stuff. And I've already confirmed, this is a little bit down the road, SAC Anime in September. And then there's a possible one in Chicago. I'm not sure that's 100% been announced yet, and that'll be in May. We'll see about that one. And these things, as the convention season gets going, I'm going to start to get a lot of inserts and just flying around meeting all my fans, which is really one of the cool things that I have been looking forward to in the last year. It's kind of a slow start because, conventions book so far in advance, and
Right.
contracts are always tricky, and, just making sure everything's laid down 100%. But yeah, I've got some stuff that are 100% and a lot of stuff that are like 95%, but a whole lot more is going to happen this year. And the easy way, it's a wild world getting conventions booked. If people find me on Twitter, like right at the top, basically, if people make requests to the conventions, it's like magic. The conventions get back in touch with me.
No,
It's
okay.
crazy, and then I get to see them. It's surreal.
That's cool. And
Yeah.
the local ones you've done, like, did you go as a specific, like, oh, I'm here because I was in My Hero, or was it like, I'm here because I'm a voiceover guy?
Well, I think at the time, what was it for? I think it was that time I got reincarnated as a slime because I'm a character rigger. They were doing a little thing for that, and I popped up for that.
Oh, okay.
And actually, I am going to be at ACON here in Dallas in 2 weeks doing a panel on. It just popped back into my head. Doing a panel on the process, of the business behind voiceover stuff.
Oh,
So
cool.
there will be a panel for that. Yeah, in ACON. I think I want to say that's the 18th, something like that. People have calendars.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, what advice would you give to somebody that's just starting out in the voiceover world? Be it anime or radio commercials, just what would be your advice to them in general?
Well, like I say, anime acting is the same as acting. Any kind of like sincere, intense, professional caliber acting will get you to a place where you have the capabilities of being a great actor in other worlds, including voiceover, including anime. So what I always say, if you've never gotten into acting before, get into a play, get into some local theater near you, because that will allow you to understand simple concepts like how to use your diaphragm, how to speak out, because even though you're in a booth, in anime, there's a lot of screaming, and you're doing a lot of breath and lung support and, vocal cord support. And so concepts like warming up and things like that are very important, even, especially, behind the booth. Getting into any kind of theater is just a great start. There are plenty of roving workshops around the bigger cities where you can kind of get an introduction to if somebody's doing a voiceover workshop. I love workshops. You can't get enough knowledge.
Right.
And sometimes with those workshops, if you get a chance to work with, like, say, a casting director or somebody that works, particularly on a show, they can kind of give you some tips on how to mistakes that you might be making in the booth. Because there's a lot of assumptions that you get. Like, I'm just going to get in there and start, screaming. Well, you've got to be able to read really quickly. I mean, that's a simple thing, but, being able to, personally, I learned how to speed read when I was a teen. And man, it was super helpful because you can see those big chunks of crazy words that are coming up. And what else? As you get more into it, the thing that just catapulted from nothing to 60 was getting some demos.
Okay.
There's some great demo workshops that can get you going. There are places that will help you provide a demo, but if you don't know how to act, it's going to be flat. So there's like this step process, figure out how to do not just act, but how to do context and be a reasonable person. And then you can start to create cartoon voices, but you got to make them, believable. And then with that demo, you can show your different styles of your voice. And then that demo does a lot of work for you because you can present it to agents. You can present it to production companies, for example, like Funimation, which is what I did when I got into the market. I had several demos and I sent it. I sent some other packages. That didn't 100% guarantee that I got anything, but it opened up dialogue to get an audition. And that was very helpful. Demos are just, everybody needs a demo. If you're going to be a professional voice actor, you got to get a demo because it started working for me. And even outside of anime, I started doing other cartoons and stuff like that. Always work on stuff. Always try to improve those demos. If you've got one, just keep making it better.
Nice.
If you record from home, don't spend $1 billion get going. Just do what you can. And if you start booking, then you can pay for stuff. Because if you wait until it's perfect, it's never going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
like
some good
so
advice.
I prepared a professional demo in a professional studio, but when I started doing auditions, I had a smaller microphone and I would just record wherever. It's better to be able to do an audition anywhere than not have one at all. So I also recommend just keeping I have a little condenser mic on me, but yeah, just whatever you can, just be prepared to audition all the time, and then just be available. You got to be available if you want to do stuff. If you want to be an actor, you got to find availability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
And there's
some...
more, but that's a good start.
Yeah, and that's some fantastic advice.
Yeah.
It really is. Would you like to take a moment to let the listeners know, what social medias you might be on and where to follow you?
Sure. Yeah. So I wish I had the exact same social media account on everything, but Twitter is probably my most accessible one, and that's just at Snow Eyes.
Okay.
And then on Instagram, I'm at Studio Sound. And I think I'm on Facebook, but I never get on there. And then my website is just like my Twitter handle, Snow Eyes, snoweyes.com.
Okay.
And you can see stuff and watch a couple of things. And Fire Force is coming back for season 2. We're going to start recording again sooner than one thinks. There's some really great promotional stuff coming up for that. Black Clover is still going strong. Great stuff there. My hero, my poor little character's in prison. So we'll see. He's not dead technically. And there's lots of other great anime that's happening, and more shows coming up. Like I said, Smile Down the Runway is still going strong. I record a couple of different shows every week. There's also another one. Oh boy. Oh, Radiant. That's a really beautiful little show that I'm working. Just this tiny little character, but I love him. He's a little creature called Mr. Boobry.
Nice.
And yeah, life's good. Just keep going. It doesn't matter what role you get, big or small. Just loving it. I'm loving what I'm doing.
Great. That's perfect. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to me and the listeners, and letting us have a little glimpse into your career and how this whole thing started for you. You're a really great guest. That was amazing.
Thank you so much. It's been good. I can't wait to listen to it and forward all my people to listen to this fun podcast. Everybody else, I've seen listened to some of the others, and yeah, there've been some great guests so far.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And, I appreciate the listeners who tune in and check this out, because without you, I would not be doing this. So thank you very much. And, we are going to keep this train rolling. We're going to keep more episodes coming. So stay tuned for the next one, and we'll see you next time. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, creatures of all ages, what an amazing show. Thank you for lending an ear and joining us. I'm the host, Ray Rumsey, and if you want to hear more interviews, simply head to anywhere podcasts are heard, Facebook or Twitter, and search The Leo Effects, with an A, not an E. If you'd like to hear me doing silly voices and making a general fool of myself, head over to Shattered Dungeons on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We live stream every Tuesday night. More projects are in the works. For now, stay tuned for more interviews. To book yourself as a guest, you can head to theleoeffects.wixsite.com/podcast or send me an email at theleoeffects@gmail.com. Remember, this has been The Leo Effects, and great shows require great listeners, just like you. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.